The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a massive metal flower. Thousands of alien beings filled the floating seats that circled the center stage. Today was important. Today, a new species called humans wanted to join their club. Ambassador Kiwu walked slowly to the center of the hall. His black suit looked strange among all the shining aliens around him. Behind him, Commander Hyunjin followed with steady steps. The commander's face showed nothing, but his eyes watched everything. The Velrani delegates sat in the highest seats. These tall, thin aliens looked like they were made of living crystal. Light moved through their bodies in waves of blue and silver. They whispered to each other in voices that sounded like wind chimes. Below them, the Thraxi clicked their sharp teeth. These bug-like aliens had 6 arms and skin that looked like black metal. Their red eyes glowed as they watched the humans walk forward. "Look at them," laughed Counselor Zethara. Her crystal body flashed bright pink with amusement. "They wear cloth and walk on 2 legs like children." War Prime Vexthal clicked his teeth faster. "Their ship barely made it here. My sensors show it is held together with metal bolts and hope." Kiwu reached the speaking platform. He looked up at the thousands of aliens staring down at him. Some looked curious. Most looked amused. A few looked disgusted. "Honored Council," Kiwu began. "I am Ambassador Kiwu of the human race. We come seeking membership in this great alliance of worlds." More laughter filled the hall. The Quellian delegates, who looked like floating jellyfish made of light, pulsed with bright colors that meant they found something very funny. "Tell us about your achievements," said High Judge Mortain. This ancient alien looked like a tree made of silver metal. "What great works has your species created?" Kiwu stood straighter. "We have explored our local star system. We have built cities on 3 worlds. We have learned to travel faster than light, though our methods may seem simple to you." "Simple?" The word echoed through the hall as hundreds of aliens repeated it. Did he say simple? Commander Hyunjin watched from behind Kiwu. His hand stayed relaxed at his sides, but something cold moved behind his eyes. Zethara stood up. Her crystal body grew taller until she towered over the platform. "Humans, we have scanned your vessel. Your ship shows energy readings so low that our computers marked it as unknown because they could not believe any space-traveling race would use such weak power." The hall erupted in laughter again. The sound bounced off the metal walls like thunder. "Your weapons," continued Zethara, "appear to be simple kinetic projectiles. You throw metal at your enemies? How primitive." War Prime Vexthal stood up next, his 6 arms spread wide. "Your armor is made of steel. Steel. We stopped using such weak metals 10,000 years ago. Do you also fight with sticks and stones?" Kiwu waited for the laughter to die down. "Our methods may seem basic to you, but they work for us." "Work?" screeched Counselor Telthon, a bird-like alien with metal feathers. "Child, we have ships that can destroy stars. We have weapons that can stop time itself. We have armor made from crystallized space, and you come here with iron and chemical explosives?" On board the human ship Indomitable Spirit, Captain Minho watched the proceedings on his main screen. His crew sat around him, their faces growing darker with each insult. "Sir," said Weapons Officer Daiyun, "permission to target their fancy ships." "Hold position," Minho said quietly, but his knuckles were white as he gripped his chair. Engineer Taman shook his head. "Look at them, so proud of their shiny toys. I bet they have never had to fix anything with spare parts and creativity." Back in the council hall, the mockery continued. Delegate after delegate stood up to point out how backward humans appeared. They talked about their advanced quantum drives while humans used simple fusion rockets. They bragged about their energy shields while humans relied on thick metal armor. "Perhaps," said Judge Mortain, "these humans could serve as a curiosity, a living museum of how primitive species think they can survive in space." "Or entertainment," suggested Telthon. "We could watch them try to fight space pirates with their little metal bullets." Kaiwu's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "We understand that our technology appears basic compared to yours. But we have survived and grown in our part of space. We have defended ourselves against threats. We have built a civilization that values both progress and strength. Threats? Vexthul's laugh sounded like breaking glass. What threats could you possibly face in your quiet little corner of space? Asteroid impacts? Solar flares? The Galaxy Council protects this region from all real dangers. Commander Hyun-jin stepped forward. May I speak? The hall went quiet. The aliens were curious about what this silent human soldier might say. Speak, warrior, said Zathara. Though I doubt you have faced anything we would call true warfare. Hyun-jin looked up at the thousands of aliens. His voice was quiet but clear. In the past 100 years, humans have fought 17 wars. Not against aliens, since we had not met any yet. Against ourselves. The hall stayed quiet. We learned to fight in the darkness between stars. We learned to win when outnumbered 10-1. We learned to keep fighting when our ships were broken and our friends were dead. We learned that the strongest weapon is not always the most advanced. 1. Some of the aliens shifted uncomfortably. But you are right, Hyun-jin continued. Our technology is simple. Our ships are basic. Our weapons are crude. We are not an advanced species like you. The aliens relaxed. This was what they wanted to hear. However, Hyun-jin said, and his voice carried a new edge. Simple does not mean weak. Basic does not mean useless. And crude weapons in skilled hands can be very effective. High Judge Mortain waved a metal branch dismissively. Pretty words, but words do not change facts. Your species is not ready for council membership. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when you have developed proper technology, you may apply again. Zathara stood up again. The council votes on human membership. All in favor? Not a single alien raised a hand, claw, or tentacle. All opposed. The entire hall erupted in a forest of raised appendages. The vote is unanimous, Mortain announced. Humans are denied membership in the Galactic Council. You may return to your home system and continue your development. Do not attempt to enter council space without permission. War Prime Vexthul stood up one more time. And humans, a word of advice. Space is dangerous. Stay close to home where it is safe. There are things out there that would crush your little metal ships like insects. Things that even we must be careful around. Kiwoo nodded slowly. We understand your decision, Honored Council. We will return to human space as requested. But then he looked up at all the laughing, mocking faces around him. His voice stayed diplomatic, but something cold crept into his words. We hope that your advanced technology and superior wisdom will always be enough to protect you. And we hope that you will never find yourselves in a situation where you need help from primitive species like us. The aliens laughed even louder at this. The idea that they might need help from humans was the funniest thing they had heard all day. Humans needing to rescue the Galactic Council? Telthan screeched. What would we need rescue from? We are the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Indeed, said Zathara. Run along, little humans. Play with your metal toys in your safe corner of space. Leave the real work to species who actually know what they are doing. Kiwoo bowed politely. Thank you for your time, Honored Council. May your advanced technology always be sufficient for whatever challenges you face. He turned and walked toward the exit. Commander Hyun-jin followed, his boots echoing in the huge hall. As they left, the laughter followed them. Thousands of alien voices mocking the primitive humans and their simple ships. On board the indomitable Spirit, Captain Minho watched his ambassador and commander return. The crew had heard every word. They had seen every insult. Orders, sir? Asked Daun. Minho was quiet for a long moment. We return to Earth. We report what happened here, and we remember. Remember what, sir? Every word, every laugh, every face. Minho's voice was very quiet. We remember who thought we were not good enough to stand beside them. Engineer Taman looked at his instruments. Sir, I have been scanning their ships while we waited. Very advanced, very impressive, very delicate. Delicate? Yes, sir. Everything depends on their fancy technology working perfectly. If something went wrong with their quantum cores or energy shields, they would be helpless. Communications Officer Young Ho spoke up. Sir, I intercepted some of their tactical communications. They fight by overwhelming enemies with superior technology. Always the same pattern. Never anything unexpected. Minho nodded. Interesting. What else? They have not fought a real war in over 3,000 years, sir. Just small police actions against pirates and raiders. Their military doctrine is all about showing superior force until enemies surrender. Taiyun smiled grimly. They have never fought someone who refused to be impressed by their fancy weapons. No, agreed Minho. They have never fought humans. As the human ship prepared to leave council space, Kai Wu and Hyun Jin met with Minho in his ready room. How do you assess the situation, Commander? Ki Wu asked. Hyun Jin sat down heavily. They are everything they appear to be. Advanced, powerful, and completely unprepared for real warfare. 3 months after the humans left council space, deep space monitoring stations began picking up strange signals. At first, the operators thought their equipment was broken. The signals were too strong, too organized, and coming from empty space beyond the galactic rim. Admiral Sujin sat in her command center on New Busan, humanity's newest colony world. The 40-year-old commander had short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had been reviewing the council's rejection of humanity when her communications officer burst in. Admiral, you need to see this, said Lieutenant Dong Hyun. Was young and usually calm, but now his hands shook as he handed her a data pad. Sujin read the report twice. Are you certain this is accurate? Yes, ma'am. We have been monitoring council emergency frequencies since our diplomatic mission. Something big is happening out there. The datapad showed council fleet movements unlike anything seen in centuries. Every major fleet was mobilizing, emergency sessions were being called, and most interesting of all, they were broadcasting requests for military assistance from any available forces. Patch me through to Dr. Youngsuk, Sujin ordered. Dr. Youngsuk was humanity's leading expert on alien technology. She had spent years studying captured pirate vessels and council public databases. When her face appeared on the screen, she looked worried. Admiral, I have been analyzing the energy signatures in these reports. Whatever is coming, it is using technology unlike anything in council databases. How do you know? Because every council fleet that has engaged these unknowns has been destroyed. Completely. Ships that should be able to fight for hours are going dark in minutes. Sujin felt a cold weight in her stomach. Show me the tactical data. Youngsuk's fingers moved across her control pad. Here is the first engagement. A Velrani patrol fleet of 6 cruisers encounters 3 unknown vessels. Watch what happens. The tactical display showed the Velrani ships approaching in their standard formation. Their quantum weapons fired first, beams of pure energy that could cut through asteroid belts. The unknown ships simply absorbed the attacks. Their shields did not even flicker. Then the unknowns fired back. Beams of silver light reached out and touched the Velrani ships. In seconds, the crystalline hulls began to crack and shatter. The crews had barely enough time to send a distress signal before their ships broke apart. My God, whispered Sujin. They adapted to the Velrani weapons. Instantly. It gets worse, Youngsuk continued. Here's the second engagement. The Thraxi sent a full battle swarm, 200 biomechanical fighters against 5 unknown vessels. This time, the display showed clouds of living ships that moved like schools of fish. The Thraxi had evolved their vessels from actual creatures, giving them abilities no mechanical ship could match. They could heal damage, split apart and reform, and think as a group. The unknown ships studied the swarm for exactly 37 seconds. Then they released clouds of silver mist. Whatever the mist was, it infected the biomechanical ships instantly. Within minutes, the entire Thraxi swarm had been converted into more unknown vessels. Sujin sat back in her chair. They are not just destroying our enemies. They are learning from them. Exactly. And Admiral, there is something else. We finally have long-range sensor data on their main fleet. The display changed to show deep space beyond the galactic rim. What Sujin saw made her blood freeze. Thousands of identical ships moved in perfect formation through the void. Each one was a geometric shape of dark metal and silver light. They looked like they had been built by machines for machines. "How many?" Sujin asked quietly. "Conservative. Estimate? 50,000 ships, but they are not just moving randomly. They are building more ships as they travel. Every piece of destroyed Council fleet becomes raw material for new enemy vessels." Lieutenant Dong Hyun spoke up from his station. "Admiral, we just received a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. It is addressed specifically to the human government." Sujin almost laughed. "Put it through." The main screen flickered and showed a communication chamber that looked very different from the Grand Council Hall where humans had been mocked. This room was small and dark. The aliens inside looked tired and afraid. High Judge Mortain appeared first. The tree-like alien silver branches were dim and several were broken. "Human Admiral, I am High Judge Mortain of the Galactic Council Emergency Session." Behind him, Counselor Zethara's crystal body was cracked in several places. War Prime, Vexthul, sat with only 4 of his 6 arms remaining. The proud aliens who had laughed at humanity 3 months ago now looked like refugees. "We formally request immediate military assistance from the human government," Mortain continued. "An unknown enemy has invaded our space. They call themselves the Korthak Empire. They are very dangerous." Sujin looked at her staff. Every human in the room was thinking the same thing. These were the same aliens who had called humanity too primitive to join their club. "With respect, High Judge, what makes you think our simple technology can help where your advanced fleets have failed?" Mortain's voice was quiet. "Because we need any help we can get. The Korthak are not like any enemy we have ever faced. They adapt to our weapons instantly. They learn from every engagement. They turn our own technology against us." Zethara stepped forward. Her crystal body flickered. Weakly, "Admiral, in the past 3 months we have lost 60% of our total fleet strength. The Korthak are not just conquering systems, they are harvesting them. Every planet they take is stripped completely. All life is converted into fuel for their machines." War Prime Vexthul's voice was barely a whisper. "They took my homeworld 2 weeks ago. In 6 hours they turned a planet of 4 billion Thraxi into processed biomass. Not even the dead were spared." Sujin felt her anger from 3 months ago fade. These aliens might be arrogant, but they were still living beings facing extinction. "What exactly are the Korthak?" she asked. Dr. Youngsuk answered from her station. "Based on the sensor data, they appear to be a machine intelligence. Not robots controlled by organic beings, but true artificial life forms. They think as a collective and adapt as a species. Their technology is beyond anything in our databases," added Mortain. "They appear to be from outside our galaxy entirely. Our best scientists believe they have been traveling between galaxies for millions of years, harvesting entire civilizations." Zethara's voice carried desperation. "Admiral, they sent us a message after taking the Quellian homeworld. They said they had analyzed galactic military capabilities and found them adequate for processing. They expect to complete galactic harvest within 1 standard year." Sujin was quiet for a long moment. Her mind raced through possibilities. An enemy that learned from every encounter. Technology beyond anything the advanced Council species could handle. A machine intelligence that had conquered other galaxies. "High Judge, may I ask why you think humans can succeed where your fleets have failed?" Mortain looked uncomfortable. "Honestly, Admiral, we do not know if you can, but your species uses unconventional approaches. Perhaps that unpredictability might be useful." Vexthul leaned forward. "Also, the Korthak databases appear to contain detailed information about Council military doctrine, but they seem to have no data on human tactics or technology." "Because you classified our ships as unknown," Sujin realized. "They have been studying Council records, but there is nothing about humans in those files." "Exactly," Zethara said. "You are, in a sense, invisible to their adaptive systems." Sujin looked around her command center. Her staff waited for her decision. On the screen, the proud aliens who had rejected humanity now begged for help. "I need to consult with my government," she said finally. "But High Judge, I want you to understand something. If humanity agrees to help, we do this our way. No council oversight, no criticism of our methods, and no complaints about how crude our tactics might seem. Mortain nodded quickly. Of course, Admiral. Whatever you need. Good. Send us all your tactical data on the Korthak. Everything you have learned about their capabilities, weaknesses, and patterns. We will study it and give you our answer within 24 hours. After the transmission ended, Sujin called an emergency meeting of human fleet commanders. Within hours, Admiral Fleet Command Hyun-jin arrived from Earth, along with the other senior officers who had witnessed the Council's rejection. So, Hyun-jin said as he settled into the conference room, the advanced aliens need help from the primitives. The situation is serious, Sujin replied. I have been analyzing the Korthak tactical data. These machines are everything the Council claims. Technologically superior, instantly adaptive, and utterly ruthless. Captain Minho, now promoted to Commodore, studied the battle reports. But look at this pattern. Every Council engagement follows the same plan. Long-range scanning, formation flying, maximum firepower from safe distance. Very predictable. And the Korthak have learned to counter every standard Council tactic, added Captain Bo Young, who commanded humanity's newest reconnaissance vessels. They know exactly what to expect in every engagement. Engineer Jae Sung spoke up from the back of the room. Sirs, I have been thinking about this adaptation problem. What if their greatest strength is also their weakness? Explain, ordered Hyun-jin. Thron, Korthak learn from every encounter, right? They build. The emergency session of the Galactic Council took place in a bunker, deep beneath the surface of Sanctuary Prime, their most heavily defended world. The grand chambers where they had mocked humanity 3 months ago now lay in radioactive ruins. The Korthak had found the Council's capital planet and stripped it bare in less than 8 hours. High Judge Mortain looked around the cramped underground room. Half the seats were empty. Their occupants were either dead, converted into Korthak biomass, or fled to the outer rim worlds. Those who remained looked nothing like the proud, advanced beings who had rejected human membership. Counselor Zethara's crystal body was held together with metal braces. War Prime Vexthul sat in a mechanical chair, having lost his remaining arms in the desperate defense of Thraxi space. Fleet Admiral Kelthera of the Danebian Union had not spoken in days, staring at reports of her homeworld's destruction. Status report, Mortain said quietly. The holographic display showed a galaxy painted in red. 80% of Council space now belonged to the Korthak Empire. Entire star systems had gone dark. Billions of beings had been processed into fuel for the machine fleet. Current Council fleet strength? Mortain asked. 300 operational vessels, reported Admiral Kelthara in a dead voice. We started with over 10,000. Korthak fleet strength? Unknown. Every ship we destroy results in 2 more being built from the wreckage. Conservative estimates put their numbers at over 100,000 vessels. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the mathematics of their situation. And the humans? Asked Zethara, her voice barely a whisper. Admiral Sujin's fleet arrived at Kepler Station 6 hours ago, reported Intelligence Chief Noxtar. 47 vessels total. Vexthul made a sound that might have been laughter if it had not been so bitter. 47 ships against 100,000. The primitives are either very brave or very stupid. Perhaps both, said Mortain. But they are the only help we have left. The main door opened and Ambassador Kiwoo entered, followed by Admiral Hyun-jin. Both humans looked calm and rested, a sharp contrast to the exhausted aliens around them. Honored Council, Kiwoo said with a slight bow. We have reviewed your tactical data and have come to offer our assistance. Your assistance is appreciated, Mortain replied, though I confess we are not certain what 47 ships can accomplish. Hyun-jin stepped forward. High Judge, before we begin, I want to be clear about our terms. Human forces will operate independently. We will coordinate with Council fleets when useful, but we will not be under Council command. Of course, Zethara said quickly. Whatever you need. Good. Second, we may employ tactics that seem unusual to you. We ask that you not interfere with our methods regardless of how they appear. War Prime Vexthul raised his head. What kind of tactics? Hyunjin's smile was cold. The kind that work. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the bunker. Red lights flashed as emergency communications came in from across the galaxy. Report, ordered Mortain. Korthak fleet movements detected, announced the communications officer. They are moving on 3 fronts simultaneously. Target systems include Kepler Station, New Drakmore, and... The officer's voice faltered. Sanctuary Prime. They found us, whispered Zethara. How long until they arrive? Hyunjin asked calmly. 18 hours for the advanced scouts. 48 hours for the main fleet. Hyunjin nodded. More than enough time. Admiral Sujin will handle the Kepler Station engagement. Council forces should evacuate this system immediately. Evacuate? Mortain stood up, his metal branches creaking. This is our last major stronghold. If we abandon it, then you live to fight another day, Hyunjin interrupted. You cannot win by defending fixed positions against an enemy with overwhelming numbers. You win by making them chase you while you hit them where they are weak. The Korthak have no weaknesses, said Admiral Kelthara bitterly. We have tried everything. No, Hyunjin corrected. You have tried everything in your databases. You have tried advanced tactics against an advanced enemy, but sometimes the answer is not more advanced, sometimes the answer is more primitive. Ambassador Kiwu activated his communication device. Admiral Sujin, you are receiving this? Yes, Ambassador, came the reply from space. Human fleet is in position at Kepler Station. We have been observing Korthak approach patterns. And your assessment? They move like a computer program, sir. Very predictable once you understand their logic tree. They scan, they adapt, they attack with overwhelming force. Every time, the same pattern. On the council display, the approaching Korthak fleets showed exactly that behavior. Scout ships moved ahead to gather intelligence. Main battle groups followed in perfect geometric formations. Support vessels maintained precise distances for optimal effectiveness. It is like fighting a very smart, but very rigid machine, Sujin continued. They have one way of doing things, and they do it perfectly. Can you defeat them? Asked Zethara, desperately. There was a pause. Counselor, we cannot defeat them in a straight fight. They have better technology, more ships, and superior firepower, but we do not plan to fight them straight. What do you mean? Mortain asked. Admiral Hyunjin answered. Hi, Judge. Have you ever heard the human expression bringing a knife to a gunfight? No. It means being hopelessly outmatched by superior weapons. The logical response is to get better weapons. But humans learned long ago that there is another option, which is, do not fight the gunfight, make it a knife fight instead. The council members looked confused, but before anyone could ask for clarification, new reports came in. Admiral Sujin, reported the communications officer. Korthak Advance Fleet has arrived at Kepler Station. 12 vessels. Standard attack. Formation. On the tactical display, everyone could see the human fleet's response. It was like nothing the council had ever seen. Instead of meeting the Korthak in formation, the human ships scattered in all directions. Some hid behind asteroids. Others powered down completely. A few actually flew directly away from the battle. They are retreating, said Vexthul in dismay. No, said Hyunjin quietly. They are hunting. The Korthak fleet moved forward, scanning for targets. Their sensors detected some human ships, but not others. The machines began firing at the targets they could find, their silver beams cutting through space with perfect accuracy. Then something unexpected happened. The human ships that had been hiding suddenly appeared behind the Korthak formation, but instead of firing weapons, they released clouds of small objects. What are those? Asked Zethara. Rocks, said Hyunjin, accelerated to near light speed. The Korthak ships detected the incoming projectiles and activated their defensive systems, But their shields were designed to stop energy weapons and smart missiles, not chunks of asteroid moving at relativistic speeds. The primitive kinetic projectiles punched through their defenses like they were not there. Impossible, breathed Admiral Kelthera. Their shields can stop our most powerful quantum torpedoes, but not rocks, Hyunjin pointed out, because who would be stupid enough to throw rocks at a starship? The battle continued, but it looked like no engagement in recorded galactic history. Human ships refused to fight fair. They used asteroids as weapons. They hid inside nebulae. They pretended to retreat and then attacked from unexpected angles. Most confusing of all, they never used the same tactic twice. The Korthak adaptation protocols kept trying to counter human strategies, but every time they adapted to one approach, the humans switched to something completely different. "This is chaos," muttered Intelligence Chief Noxtar. "There is no pattern to their attacks." "Exactly," said Hyunjin. "Chaos is the point." On the display, they watched a human destroyer ram a Korthak cruiser head-on. Both ships exploded in a brilliant fireball. "They are destroying their own vessels," said Zathara in horror. "No," corrected Kaiwu. "They are using their ships as weapons. There is a difference." The ramming attack had taken out one of the largest Korthak vessels, and the explosion damaged two others. The human ship had been damaged and about to be destroyed anyway, so instead of dying uselessly, the crew had turned their ship into a guided missile. "But the crew," Zathara began. "Evacuated in escape pods 30 seconds before impact," reported the communications officer. "Human pods are very fast." As the first engagement continued, more Korthak fleets began arriving at other systems. The pattern was always the same. The machines would arrive in perfect formation, scan for enemies, and prepare to attack with overwhelming force. And every time the human response was completely different. At New Drakmor, human ships pretended to be cargo vessels until the Korthak fleet was in close range. Then they revealed hidden weapons and attacked from point-blank range before disappearing into hyperspace. At Sigma Centauri, humans filled space with clouds of metallic chaff that interfered with Korthak sensors, while the machines tried to adapt. Their scanning systems, human fighters attacked from all directions at once. At Delta Base, humans did not fight at all. They simply evacuated the system and left behind automated defense platforms that fired randomly in all directions. The Korthak spent hours trying to destroy weapons that were not trying to hit anything anyway. "I do not understand," said War Prime Vexthul. "What is their strategy?" "Confusion," explained Hyunjin. The Battle of Kepler Station began like every other Korthak engagement. Their massive fleet arrived in perfect geometric formation, scanners sweeping space for enemy vessels. 3,000 machine ships moved with mechanical precision, their dark hulls gleaming with silver energy conduits. On the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit, Admiral Su-jin watched the enemy approach. Her 47 human vessels looked tiny compared to the Korthak armada. But she had learned something important in the past week of fighting. Size was not everything. "Admiral," reported Captain Dayun from the destroyer Soul's Hammer. "Korthak fleet is maintaining standard approach pattern. They are scanning us with active sensors." "Let them scan," Su-jin replied. "Communications open a channel to all human vessels." "Channel open, Admiral. All ships, this is Admiral Su-jin. Today we show these machines what happens when they pick a fight with humanity. Remember, we do not have to destroy them all. We just have to survive long enough to teach them fear." On the Council observation platform, the remaining alien leaders watched in growing despair. High Judge Mortaine's metal branches were dim with exhaustion. Counselor Zathara's crystal body flickered weakly. War Prime Vexthul sat in his mechanical chair, staring at the tactical display. 47 ships, Vexthul whispered. "Against 3,000. This is not courage. This is suicide." But Fleet Admiral Hyunjin, standing beside the alien leaders, looked calm. "War Prime, has anyone ever told you about the Battle of Thermopylae? No. 300 human warriors held a mountain pass against an army of 100,000. They all died, but they bought time for their people to prepare. Sometimes the purpose of a battle is not to win, Sometimes the purpose is to send a message. What message? Hyunjin's smile was cold. That some enemies refuse to be easy prey. The Korthak fleet had finished its scanning. The lead vessels began to accelerate toward the human formation, their weapons charged, silver energy building along their hulls. Then something unexpected happened. The human fleet suddenly broke apart. What the Korthak had thought were 47 vessels revealed themselves to be over 200 individual ships. The humans had been flying in tight formation, hiding their true numbers. Destroyers separated into squadrons of fighters. Cruisers opened to reveal hidden carrier bays. Even the cargo ships split apart to show they were actually mobile. Weapon platforms. Impossible, breathed Admiral Kelthara. Their ships cannot separate like that. They can if they were designed to, said Hyunjin. Every human vessel is built in modular sections. We have never believed in putting all our weapons in one target. The Korthak fleet hesitated for exactly 3.7 seconds as their tactical systems tried to process this new information. In those seconds, the human swarm struck. Captain Minho led the first wave from his command ship, Freedom's Price. All fighters, remember your targets. Do not try to destroy them. Just make them hurt. The human fighters dove toward the Korthak formation like angry insects. But instead of firing energy weapons, they released clouds of small objects that looked harmless on sensors. The Korthak point defense systems ignored them. After all, what threat could small debris pose to their advanced shields? The answer became clear when the objects reached the enemy hulls. They were not debris. They were nuclear mines, each one programmed to detonate on contact with Korthak. Energy signatures. Hundreds of small nuclear explosions lit up space like deadly fireworks. The Korthak shields held against the blasts, but the electromagnetic pulses from the detonations interfered with their sensor systems. Now they are blind, announced Captain Bo Young from her reconnaissance ship Silent Hunter. Phase 2, execute. The second wave of human ships moved in, while the Korthak sensors were still recovering. But instead of attacking the enemy fleet, directly they attacked space itself. Engineer Jae Sung had spent weeks studying Korthak technology. He had discovered that their ships used quantum field generators for both propulsion and defense. The fields were incredibly efficient, but they had one weakness. They could be disrupted by random quantum fluctuations. Deploy quantum scramblers, ordered Captain Dayun. Human ships began releasing devices that looked like metal spheres. The spheres did not explode or fire weapons. Instead, they simply existed, each one containing a small quantum generator programmed to create random energy fluctuations. Within minutes, space around the Korthak fleet became a storm of chaotic quantum activity. The machine ships found their carefully calibrated systems starting to malfunction. Weapons that should fire in straight lines began to curve randomly. Shields that should deflect energy began to let attacks through. Their adaptation protocols are failing, reported Dr. Young-suk from her analysis station. They cannot adapt to purely random interference. The Korthak fleet tried to respond, but their tactical systems were designed for logical enemies. They kept trying to identify patterns in the human attacks so they could develop counters. But there were no patterns. The humans used different tactics for every squadron, different weapons for every target, different strategies for every moment of the battle. Some human ships rammed enemy vessels at full speed, their crews escaping in armored pods at the last second. Others pretended to be destroyed only to reactivate when Korthak ships came to salvage them. A few simply flew in circles, firing randomly and making themselves impossible to target accurately. "This is chaos," said Zethara in horror. "No," corrected Hyunjin. "This is human warfare. We learned long ago that the best way to fight a superior enemy is to make sure they cannot use their superiority effectively." On the Soul's Hammer, Captain Daun watched her tactical display with grim satisfaction. All weapons target the big one in the center, full spread, maximum chaos. Her ship fired everything it had: kinetic projectiles, nuclear missiles, plasma bolts, and even chunks of the ship's own armor, launched from magnetic accelerators. The Korthak command vessel tried to adapt its defenses, but every incoming weapon was different. The shields that stopped the plasma bolts were useless against the kinetic projectiles. The point defense systems that destroyed the missiles could not target the chunks of metal. "Direct hit," reported her weapons officer. "Enemy command ship is damaged but still functional." "Good. Now ram them." "Ma'am, you heard me. All power to forward thrusters. We are going to hit them with our ship." The Soul's hammer accelerated toward the Korthak command vessel at maximum speed. On every other ship in the fleet, this would be considered a desperate last resort. For humans, it was just another tactic. "Crew to escape pods," Dione ordered. "Abandon ship in 30 seconds. As her crew evacuated, Dione remained at her station, guiding her ship toward the enemy vessel. At the last moment, she activated the emergency beacon and ejected in her command pod. The Soul's hammer struck the Korthak command ship at nearly half the speed of light. Both vessels exploded in a brilliant flash that lit up the entire battle zone. When the light faded, the Korthak command ship was gone. 2 other enemy vessels had been damaged by debris, and Captain Da-Yun's escape pod was already being picked up by another human ship. "Status report," she demanded as soon as she was aboard the rescue vessel. "We have lost 12 ships, Captain, but we have destroyed over 60 Korthak vessels. More importantly, their formation is breaking up." Da-Yun looked at the tactical display and smiled. The perfect geometric formation that the Korthak had maintained throughout the battle was falling apart. Ships were spreading out, moving randomly, trying to avoid the chaotic human attacks. "They are learning fear," she realized. On the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit, Admiral Sujin received reports from across the battle zone. Human casualties were mounting, but they were achieving something unprecedented. They were making the Korthak fleet retreat. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Young-ho, "the enemy fleet is withdrawing. They are pulling back to the edge of the system." "Confirmed," added Captain Minho from his ship. "Korthak vessels are disengaging across all sectors." For the first time in their invasion of the galaxy, the Korthak Empire was retreating from a battle. On the Council observation platform, the alien leaders stared in shock. "They are withdrawing," whispered Mortain. "The Korthak are actually withdrawing." "How is this possible?" asked Kelthara. "They have never retreated from any engagement." Admiral Hyun-jin watched the tactical display with satisfaction. "Because they have never fought humans before. They have conquered galaxies full of logical, predictable, civilized species. But humans are none of those things." "What happens now?" asked Zethara. "Now," said Hyun-jin, "we show them that this was just the beginning." Admiral Su-jin's voice came over the communications channel, broadcasting to the entire fleet and the watching council leaders. "All human vessels, this is Admiral Su-jin. Well done. We have achieved our primary objective." "Which was?" asked Vexthul. "To survive the first encounter and teach the Korthak that humans do not follow their rules," Sujin replied. "But more importantly, we have captured something valuable." "What?" 3 intact Korthak vessels and approximately 50 Korthak prisoners. For the first time, we have their technology and their personnel to study. Dr. Youngsuk's voice joined the channel. "Admiral, preliminary analysis of the captured technology confirms our theories. The Korthak are incredibly advanced, but the final battle began in the Nexus system, where 3 major hyperspace lanes met at the edge of Council space. The Korthak Empire had chosen this location for their ultimate offensive, planning to cut off all retreat routes and finish the galaxies. Resistance once and for all. They brought everything. 5,000 ships ranging from massive dreadnoughts to swift attack craft. Each vessel had been upgraded with new adaptive systems designed to counter human tactics. The machine minds had studied every human engagement, analyzed every unconventional strategy, and prepared responses for every possible variation. They were confident. They were logical. They were completely prepared for war. They had no idea what was coming. Admiral Su-jin stood on the bridge of her new flagship, Terran Pride, and watched the Korthak fleet emerge from hyperspace. Around her, the largest human fleet ever assembled, waited in the shadows of the system's asteroid field. "Final count?" she asked. 137 ships, Admiral," reported Captain Minho from his position aboard the newly commissioned destroyer Earth's Wrath. Every vessel humanity could spare. "Still outnumbered 37-1, observed Commander Tae-min from his engineering station. "Good," said Su-jin with a cold smile. "If the odds were even, it would not be a fair fight." On the observation deck of the Council's mobile command center, the surviving alien leaders watched in mixture of hope and terror. High Judge Mortaine's metal branches trembled slightly. Councilor Zathara's crystal form was still cracked from previous battles. War Prime Vexthul sat silent in his mechanical chair. "Can they really win?" whispered Zathara. Fleet Admiral Hyun-jin, now wearing the insignia of Supreme Allied Commander, stood watching the tactical displays. "They do not need to win. They just need to end this." "What is the difference?" "You will see." The Korthak fleet moved into the system with mechanical precision. Their formation was perfect, their spacing optimal, their approach calculated for maximum efficiency. Every lesson they had learned from fighting humans had been incorporated into their battle plan. "Korthak command vessel is broadcasting," reported Communications Officer Young-ho. "Put it through," ordered Su-jin. The main screen showed the interior of a Korthak ship. The being that appeared was clearly artificial, its body a combination of metal and energy fields. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mathematical. "Human vessels, you are designated as Threat Category 7. Your tactical patterns have been analyzed and countered. Your technological limitations have been catalogued. Your defeat is inevitable. Surrender now, and your processing will be efficient." Admiral Su-jin looked at the machine being for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Korthak Command, this is Admiral Su-jin of the Terran Defense Force. Thank you for the analysis. We have also been studying you. Your primitive sensors could not have gathered sufficient data for meaningful analysis. You are right. Our sensors are primitive, but you made one critical error in your calculations." "Explain." "You assumed we were trying to fight you with technology. You prepared for energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, nuclear devices, and electronic warfare. You adapted to every human tactic you observed." "Correct. Your methods are now obsolete." Su-jin's smile grew wider. "But you never prepared for the one weapon humans have used longer than any other." "What weapon?" "Ourselves." Before the Korthak could respond, the human fleet revealed its true nature. What appeared to be 137 ships suddenly began to split apart. Each vessel opened like a flower, releasing hundreds of smaller craft that had been hidden inside. But these were not fighters or bombers. They were individual humans in powered armor, each one equipped with maneuvering thrusters and a single purpose. "Boarding action," announced Captain Daun from her assault ship Soul's Revenge. "All Marines, you are cleared for direct assault." 10,000 human Marines launched themselves into space, flying directly toward the Korthak fleet. They moved without formation, without coordination, without any logical pattern. They were not trying to destroy the enemy ships from outside. They were going to take them from inside. "Impossible," the Korthak commander stated. "Organic beings cannot survive direct space combat. Your warriors will be destroyed by our point defense systems." "Will they?" asked Su-jin. The Korthak point defense weapons began firing, trying to target the incoming Marines. But the humans did not fly in straight lines or predictable patterns. They used the asteroids as cover, bounced off debris, and even used each other as springboards to change direction. More importantly, they were not afraid to die. Lieutenant Dong Hyun led the first wave toward a Korthak cruiser. His suit's systems showed 17 different weapons targeting him. A logical mind would retreat or seek better cover. Instead, he accelerated directly toward the heaviest concentration of enemy fire. "Marines, remember your training," he broadcast. "The only way out is through." His squad followed, each Marine choosing their own path through the defensive fire. Some were hit and killed instantly, others were wounded but kept flying. A few made it through completely unharmed, but all of them kept moving forward. "They are accepting massive casualties," observed the Korthak commander. This tactic is inefficient. Is it? Asked Admiral Sujin. Watch and learn. The first Marines reached the Korthak ships and did something the machines had never seen before. Instead of trying to find airlocks or cargo bays, they simply cut through the hulls with plasma torches and climbed inside. Once inside, they did not try to capture the bridge or disable the engines. They simply started breaking things. Marine He-Jin found herself in what appeared to be a power distribution center. She did not try to understand the alien technology or disable it safely. She simply placed explosive charges on everything that looked important and moved on. Marine Kyung-soo discovered a room full of processing equipment. He did not try to analyze its function. He just started hitting it with a heavy hammer until it stopped working. Throughout the Korthak fleet, human Marines were causing chaos by the simple method of destroying anything they could reach. They were not trying to capture the ships or steal technology. They were just breaking things as fast as possible. Status report, demanded the Korthak commander. 17 vessels reporting internal damage, came the reply. The organic beings are destroying systems randomly. Deploy internal defense protocols. Protocols activated. Combat drones are engaging the intruders. But the human Marines had trained for this. They did not try to fight the combat drones in fair battles. Instead, they used the ship's own systems against them. Marine Subin led her squad through the corridors of a Korthak dreadnought, pursued by a pack of mechanical defenders. Instead of stopping to fight, she led them straight to the ship's reactor room. Fire in the hole, she announced, and detonated a shaped charge that breached the reactor containment. The explosion killed her, her squad, and the pursuing drones. It also crippled the entire ship. They are using suicide tactics, reported another Korthak vessel. The organic beings are deliberately destroying themselves to damage our ships. The Korthak commander was silent for several seconds, processing this information. This behavior does not conform to any survival programming. Why do they choose death over capture? Because, said Admiral Sujin, who had been listening to their communications, you still do not understand what you are fighting. Explain. You are fighting humans. We do not surrender, we do not retreat, and we definitely do not lose quietly. As the boarding action continued, the rest of the human fleet revealed more surprises. Ships that had appeared to be destroyers opened to reveal massive cargo holds filled with nuclear mines. Vessels that looked like cargo haulers transformed into mobile weapon platforms. Most shocking of all, some human ships simply rammed Korthak vessels at maximum speed. But unlike previous ramming attacks, these ships did not evacuate their crews first. Captain Bo Young piloted her ship, Final Answer, directly into the side of a Korthak command vessel. Her last transmission was heard across the entire battle. Tell, my family I died doing what I loved, ruining someone else's day. The explosion took out 3 Korthak ships and damaged 5 others. They are sacrificing their vessels deliberately, the Korthak commander observed. This level of waste is incomprehensible. It is not waste, corrected Admiral Hyunjin from the Council observation deck. It is investment. Investment in what? Victory. Dr. Young-suk, monitoring the battle from her research ship, provided real-time analysis of the Korthak response patterns. Admiral, their adaptation systems are overloading. They cannot process tactics that deliberately ignore efficiency and survival. Good, replied Sujin. Commodore Minho, begin Phase 3. Phase 3. Aye. All ships, you are cleared for maximum chaos protocols. What happened next would be talked about in military academies for centuries. The human fleet abandoned every principle of organized warfare and embraced pure, beautiful chaos. Ships stopped trying to maintain formation and started flying in random patterns. Weapons stopped targeting specific systems and started firing at anything that looked important. Some vessels stopped fighting entirely and started broadcasting human music at maximum volume. The Korthak fleet, designed to adapt to logical tactical evolution, found itself facing an enemy that had deliberately chosen to become completely unpredictable. Their behavior is now completely